The Dark Hunter organisation is bound by very few rules, but one stipulates that any Dark Hunter killed by anyone except the Shadowed One, or without his direct say-so, must face extermination themselves. The powerful Brotherhood of Makuta was no exception to this rule. The murder of two Dark Hunter agents, Kreka and Nadiki, in Mechanui by Makuta Pterodax would have repercussions across the Matoran universe. How did the war between these two factions play out? What were some of the key engagements of the conflict? And how much of a threat did the Dark Hunters really pose to the Brotherhood of Makuta? Let's dive in. Following the Shadowed One's defeat at the hands of Pterodax, the Dark Hunter leader retreats and begins sending out agents on hit-and-run guerrilla operations against the Brotherhood. Because of the Makuta's innate power as well as the legions of Rakshi and Vizorak they possessed, this approach was the only way the Dark Hunters could stand against the Brotherhood. Their fortunes are aided, however, by the Makuta's preoccupation with the aftermath of the Great Cataclysm, as well as their concurrent war with the Tower and the Order of Matanui. One of the first battles we know about resulted in the theft of the Destral Cycle, a vehicle designed by Avak for traversing the island of Odina. This would have occurred sometime in the millennium between the Great Cataclysm and the Piraka's defection from the Dark Hunters to pursue their own goals. The cycle came into the possession of the Makuta of Zia, Antros. An important event that occurred early in the war was the capture of Roodaka. The Vortex Queen had been working for the Makuta, specifically Pterodax, in Mechanui following the Great Cataclysm, and became the target of the Dark Hunter agent Tracker. She would have been killed by him if not for the other Dark Hunters present, who restrained Tracker, who had a personal hatred of Roodaka, and took the Vortex captive on the Shadowed One's orders. Upon being brought before the Shadowed One on Odina, an arrangement is made whereby Roodaka would spy on the Brotherhood for the Dark Hunters, while not technically being a Dark Hunter herself, yet at the same time, unbeknownst to the Shadowed One, she relayed information on the Dark Hunters to the Brotherhood, in a confusing web of deceit in which Roodaka was essentially a triple agent. While timescales for these events are vague at best, the engagements involving who we know as the Piraka would have occurred towards the start of the war, for they had already left the Dark Hunters by the time the Ignition Trilogy and Destiny War commences. We know of some of the other Piraka's activities during the Dark Hunter Brotherhood War too. Zaktan along with Raidak and Thok were part of a team dispatched by the Shadowed One to a Brotherhood fortress, since recaptured by the Dark Hunters. It was here where Zaktan found Pterodax's grand plan, so despite the fortress being captured by the Brotherhood of Makuta shortly afterwards, he now had valuable knowledge about the Makuta's strategy. Advice to search the fortress again, as well as intelligence that the Brotherhood was on its way to retake the stronghold, was passed on by Zaktan's informant, Roodaka. This allowed Zaktan, Raidak and Thok to escape before the Brotherhood recaptured the base. Dark Hunters would sometimes be captured by the Makuta or their forces during the conflict, and it was these agents who Guardian was assigned to dispose of before they betrayed any Dark Hunter secrets under interrogation. Both Guardian and Tracker's backstories are covered in my video linked in the description or top right of the screen. The Dark Hunter Brotherhood conflict would effectively come to an end when the former entered into a temporary alliance with the convenience of the Order of Matanui, lending their forces to help thwart the Makuta, and had since occupied Kardanui. Here, the conflict entered the Destiny War phase. Relations between the Dark Hunters and the Order of Matanui can't really be covered without mentioning Ancient, the Shadowed One's second-in-command. He was paid by the Order sometime after the founding of Odina to spy on the organisation on their behalf. During the rebuilding of Odina's fortress following Pahatu's destruction of it, Ancient was activated by the Order of Matanui. His instructions were to use his position in the Dark Hunters as the Shadowed One's confidant, to convince the Dark Hunter leader to assist the Order of Matanui. If he refused, Ancient was to eliminate him. Seeing the advantage of such an arrangement, the Shadowed One accepted, and the pair sailed to Zia along with a contingent of Dark Hunters occupying the island. From there, Ancient fed intel to the Order, but his insistence that the recently discovered viruses made by Kojal should go to the Order resulted in his death at the hands of the Shadowed One. The Dark Hunter leader's trust in his lieutenant was not absolute, it seemed. By this point, the Dark Hunter Order of Matanui alliance had fallen apart. The Shadowed One struck a deal with some of the Baraki to remove Pterodax from power and rule the universe instead, but before the assault on Mechanui could go ahead, the Shadowed One had fled. The universe was destroyed soon afterward, and all who survived found themselves on Spherus Magna. Relations were reset, any old alliances annulled. The Dark Hunter Brotherhood War consisted mainly of hit-and-run operations by the former, tying Makuta forces down while they were preoccupied with other conflicts. While the Brotherhood had some successes, like recapturing their fortress from the Dark Hunters, This was tempered by the feeding of crucial information to the Shadowrun by agents such as Roodaka, while Dark Hunter secrets were being leaked to the Order of Matinui right under the Shadowrun's nose by Ancient. It was a war of clandestine missions and intelligence gathering, and while it did hinder and frustrate the Brotherhood of Makuta, a full-on assault on Makuta positions only became realistic once the Dark Hunters allied themselves with the Order of Matinui, at which point it ceased to be a war strictly between the Dark Hunters and the Brotherhood.